This information is not intended as legal, health, or nutritional advice. It is provided for informational purposes only. The Natural Health Product Protection Association does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements, views, or opinions presented by guests or attendees. Help us help you. If NHPPA's work to protect your natural health product and practice freedom is important to you, please make a one-time or monthly donation by visiting nhppa.org/donate.
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone. My name's Shawn Buckley. I'm with the Natural Health Product Protection Association, and we've got Dana and Jason with me this evening, and we're glad to have you with us. I really enjoy that intro. I like that part where we don't endorse, basically anything said, and I wonder why they added that once I started attending these, but, I digress. We're really pleased to have you. For those of you who really aren't familiar with the Natural Health Product Protection Association, we started in 2008, and we're a not-for-profit, and our goal is to protect your health rights with a particular focus on protecting your access to natural health products. And we really are the major game in town. I mean, there's another trade association that thankfully right now is also trying to resist this self-care framework. But we're the ones that the consumers resonate with the consumers. They're a trade organization for the industry, and we've always been the thought leaders. Earlier on an internal call on communications, we were talking about how, and I'll just give you an example. So I was on a roundtable with Bruce Pardy and Dr. Julie Piness and Paul Jaffe, a lawyer with 40 years of experience fighting for our rights in British Columbia. And we were having a roundtable, which was somewhat philosophical, but it called to mind when Bruce Pardy, who's a law professor at Queen's, and he said, but the real question is, why was it that public health got to decide what's in the public interest? Now, what in the NHPPA, we were, with this in mind, well, the question is so for things like natural health products, and here we're fighting to keep them available so that you and I can decide to use them. Well, who gave Health Canada the right to basically decide that we can't access them, to put restrictions on them? Like, who gave them the right to decide for us what we can access? And that's the question we have to start asking, not, are these regulations appropriate? Is this part too much? Is that part too much? The real question is, who gave them the right to make health decisions for you? And the NHPPA, I mean, we're the thought leader on this type of thing and on this self-care product that we're fighting with right now. So thank you for joining the call. We're going to have a really interesting call. We are going to take questions and answers later, so just post them in the... Jason, do you want them in the chat or do you want them in the Q&A?
If people see the Q&A, that's a little more organized, but we'll be skimming chat as well.
Okay, so try and post your questions in the Q&A, but so we'll take questions at the end. And I appreciate those that are supporting us financially. We, I think of us as the mouse that roared. We're a small, kind of tight-knit group that are really doing the best we can to make a difference. And with you participating, we do make a difference. With, we ask you to take action, you take action. But, also please support us. And Jason, if you want to maybe throw the link for donate into the chat box. And those of you who have been supporting us, thank you. We can't do this without your support, and we certainly appreciate it. So keep that in mind. And I'd like to introduce Jason Dahl to you. He's joining us today for the first time. He's joined the NHPPA team. He's going to be helping us with campaign work and the like, and he's graciously agreed to moderate for us tonight. So Jason, welcome. I don't know if you want to say a few words or not.
Just want to say hi to everyone. It's just a rush to see the entire country being represented here, from east to west and north to south in the chat, people logging on and saying hi. This is so exciting. And I can't wait to get action done with the NHPPA. It's an honor. Thank you, Shawn.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. And we've got Dana on the call, and for those of you who don't know, she's just a spark plug on our social media and helping us with planning our communications and the like. And it's just an honor, Dana, to work with you. Do you want to fill us in on kind of give everyone a year-end highlight?
Absolutely. Thank you everybody for being here tonight. I hope you're having a really great Wednesday so far. And Jason, I'm excited to have you with us. I'm going to put you right to work and ask you to pull up that slide from the 2024 statistics on some of our campaign highlights. And I'm going to go through some of this because 2024 was a really exciting and productive year for us. First up, we have the Postcard campaign there. We've continued on with that. By the end of 2024, we had sent 2.1 million postcards to health food stores and natural health clinics all across Canada, which is an insane number. So that's very exciting. You'll still find those in stores and clinics around you. So keep your eye out for them. And anytime you see a stack, grab a couple, fill them out, and mail them to your MPs. On a similar note, we also ran a campaign not mentioned on the screen right here, but we packed nearly 2,000 information packages containing various flyers on the key issues we're pushing back against. And we mailed them once again to health food stores and practitioners clinics all across Canada. So if you received one of these packages, you can use it to help yourself learn. You can use it to help educate your staff. You could post some of the flyers up on the walls in your facility. There's some really great resources in there to check out. Moving on to the next point on that screen there is Bill C-368. We did a lot with Bill C-368 last year. As a quick refresher, this is a private member's bill we're supporting. It was introduced by MP Blaine Calkins, and if passed, it will repeal sections 500 to 504 of Bill C-47, the 2023 budget bill. This was responsible for moving natural health products into the same category as pharmaceutical drugs, which we do not want. So in 2024, Bill C-368 passed second reading, which very few bills do. So that's a huge achievement in and of itself. And then it moved on to the committee stage where it was reviewed by the Standing Committee on Health. This is where we ran into some fun, you could say, because a few amendments or changes were proposed by the committee that would have made the bill entirely useless. So we asked all of you to make some noise, and you really did that. So much noise, in fact, that the damaging amendments were struck down. And now the bill is going to be moving on to the report stage in third reading. So we'll keep you updated on all of that as news is released. Moving on. Actually, on the same point, over the entire course of our Bill C-368 campaign to date, there have been over 745,000 e-letters sent to MPs, and that's just through our system alone, doesn't include anything that you've all done independently. During this time, Shawn also wrote a brief for the Standing Committee on Health that we intended to mail to them, but then Canada Post went on strike. So 2 of our team members worked together, and after 6 hours or maybe even more of total travel time, the packages were delivered directly to the House of Commons Mail Depot in Ottawa. So that is a huge achievement, and we couldn't have done it without all of you. Next up on the list, we ran a campaign to oppose Bill C-69, specifically Division 31. This was the 2024 budget bill. Within it, there were a number of changes affecting natural health products. One of these changes would have allowed Health Canada, or would allow Health Canada, to restrict off-label use of drugs, including natural health products, by practitioners. So throughout that campaign, you all sent over 167,000 e-letters. Once again, that's just through our system. And last point on this list, over the summer, we ran another Charter of Health Freedom campaign. And thank you to everybody who collected signatures on pen and paper and sent them in. We're now sitting at over 142,000 signatures, which is fantastic. So with that, Jason, you can stop sharing the screen, and I'll just ask Shawn if you have anything else you wanted to say about our progress last year.
Yeah, so, when we're looking at the Stop C-69 numbers, and this is really funny, like what was it, like 164,000 or something, e-letters sent, which like looks so small compared to like 750,000 for Bill 368 and 2.1 million postcards. But that was the budget bill. It was rushed through, like our campaign was a really short campaign. And, most organizations in Canada, if they ran a year-long campaign, there's no way they would get 165,000 emails or whatever it was sent. So yeah, so just, it was a short campaign and it was fantastic. Like what you guys did, I'm still in awe when the standing committee was proposing the amendments. So the federal government moves us into this scary pharmaceutical drug therapeutic product category in the 2023 budget bill. And it really was total kind of pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. They snuck major changes into our drug policy, into a budget bill, which has nothing to do with drugs. And that's what this Bill 368 is, just trying to take us back to where we were so that we're not being treated the same as, dangerous chemical drugs from, Pfizer and the like. Like ginger tea doesn't need a $5 million a day fine, and Health Canada having godlike powers that are just totally inappropriate. And so we get the bill in the standing committee, and when I say we, the MP Blaine Calkins just was doing tremendous work, and his party was supporting them, and other groups were supporting to get this done. CHFA was helping. I hope you appreciate, since we became a country, in 1867, have 10 private members' bills made it into committee. It never happens, let alone getting a private member's bill out of committee. So what you did is just fantastic, and I just wanted to let you know you're making history. We're making a difference. We're not there yet. I'll talk about that in a moment with cost recovery. But Dana, do you want to give us an update first on social media and the things that are happening there?
Definitely. Let's talk about social media. So first off, there are a lot of Canadians who use natural health products. And in my opinion, most of them still have no idea that Health Canada's new regulations are going to put their access at risk, or even that Health Canada is implementing new regulations to begin with. And my understanding is that social media is one of the tools we have to really rapidly spread information. Throughout 2024, we had over 10,000 new people join us on social media. And a lot of that is thanks to everybody that's liking, commenting, and sharing our content. A lot of you who are on this call right now, I recognize your names, always commenting on our stuff, and I appreciate it a lot. I love to hear what you all have to say. Recently, we shared a piece of content that I would love, Jason, for you to start bringing it up right now as I keep talking. This was a clip of Shawn and Del Bigtree speaking on the High Wire. We reshared this recently. It got a lot of traction, over 68,000 views at this point, but still going up, hundreds of comments. The discussion on it has been really great. So I want us to watch this video, and then I would love to share some of the comments that you guys have been leaving on it. So Jason, you can go ahead and play that.
Health Canada is imposing this new framework where basically they're moving us into full harmonization with the chemical over-the-counter drugs.
Okay.
And this is going to be an absolute train wreck, and we are going to lose our products. So one part of this, remember full harmonization, well, the big pharmaceutical companies, they pay huge fees for product licensing. Even each year they have to pay a renewal fee for a license, for site licenses to manufacture. Well, Health Canada is imposing these fees on the dietary supplement companies. We had a public meeting with Health Canada last week, and there were industry members saying, well we're going to go out of business, or we're going to have to cut 40 to 90% of our products lines.
Okay, so this video has been taking off so far, and I love seeing everything you guys have to say. Sometimes it's like you're commenting the things we're all thinking, but as a professional organization, we can't exactly say it. So it can be relieving for me to read through the comments and see all the great things you're saying. So one person had said, the word harmonization shouldn't be used. Harmony is positive. This is not. We happen to agree and make that joke internally all the time. And a lot of other people caught on. Another comment said, keyword harmonization with harm capitalized. So that gave me a chuckle. Somebody also said, it isn't Health Canada, it's Sick Canada. Another joke we make internally all the time, so that made me laugh. Same thing, somebody said, there's nothing healthy about Health Canada. And another comment, Health Canada admitted they don't work for the health of Canadians, and that is in fact something that Shawn has spoken about a number of times. So it is really interesting to see people learning about these things and then commenting them on our posts, because these are the things that we're teaching people. So it's interesting to see that people are picking up on it. Two more comments. So one person said, and that also means job losses. This is very true, right? If companies, manufacturers, retailers are going out of business, that's a lot of lost jobs. Final comment, somebody said, how is this democracy? Who voted for this? Very good point. And this ties in really well with one of the campaigns we're running right now, targeting Health Canada bureaucrats, because they're the ones implementing a number of these regulations that none of us voted for, nor did we vote for the people in Health Canada implementing them. So I thought it would be fun to review some of the things that you guys have to say. And with that, we can turn gears and have Shawn talk a bit about cost recovery and I think the ramifications of the US election.
Thanks, Dana. So you saw that video and where one of the things we're talking about is cost recovery, and you may not understand what we're referring to. So literally 80%, roughly 80% of Health Canada's budget comes from fees that they charge the pharmaceutical companies. And Health Canada, knowing that, and the key word is they know this, knowing that the natural health product industry, they just don't make the money the pharmaceutical companies do. They're mostly, small companies, medium-sized companies, no intellectual property rights. We can't afford those fees. And we've always been exempted from those fees, and we weren't ever supposed to be regulated the same as the chemical drug companies. But those fees are going to be imposed on us. Now, those fees are found in some regulations called the fee for drug regulations. And we're worried that actually any day now, and we're worried because, we saw an email from Jasmeet Singh to one of our supporters saying, well, we're asking the Liberals to hold off, gazetting this, but it could be almost immediately that the exact figures are published in the Canada Gazette, which is just kind of the government's newspaper where they publish regulations, letting us know for sure what the amounts are going to be and when they come into effect. But Health Canada has a policy document, and they told us at an industry Zoom call that their target is near the end of this calendar year to bring in not the complete fees, but most of the fees on us. So, and that's going to be a train wreck. Like literally there were industry players on the call saying, I'm going to go out of business. I'm going to have to drop most of my product lines. And for sure, costs will go up dramatically. So think about that for a moment. Like I think it was pretty well every manufacturer on the call thought they were either going to have to go out of business or drop, 40 to 80% of their product lines just on cost recovery alone, which is just one part of this self-care framework. So let's say that comes in near the end of this year. Let's say November. It would mean that by November of this year, manufacturers will be making decisions to either stop operating within Canada or dropping products. And we don't know what it's going to look like. Like Health Canada has deliberately not shown us these regulations. But what, these companies, literally since 2004, probably took us about 12, 14 years for most of the industry to get through this product licensing requirement, which was brand new. Are we going to have to do that again? Are we going to have to go through product licensing again? Because we have to pay fees for it now. We have to pay yearly fees. And Health Canada said, well, we're going to bring in a different licensing scheme. We're going to harmonize you with the chemical drugs. Well, that's going to be a different standard. That's going to be a different process. Is that what we're going to be paying for? Like it could be this year where we're hitting game over. So these are really, really exciting times. And I say that not in a good way, but likely we need to have this happen so that, enough other people get upset that we get Parliament responsive. The one thing, and I don't want to go too late on this, and I want to switch over to the other topic, different topic, but Health Canada has made it clear in a recent meeting that even though they understand that, the industry is saying they can't survive this, and even though they understand that Canadians don't want this, that they're pressing ahead with this anyway. And what I find interesting, and what I want you to listen to very carefully, is every MP in Parliament understands, it doesn't matter what party, every MP in Parliament understands clearly that Canadians do not want this cost recovery to go ahead. There is no ambiguity about this. There's no ambiguity that Canadians are making it clear they don't want this self-care framework where we're going to be regulated the same as chemical drugs. I don't think ever before in Canadian history have MPs received, millions of postcards on a single issue. It's never happened before. Where, they've gotten so many e-letters, and Dana made it clear, so let's say we've got this figure of over 700,000 e-letters on Bill 368. Well, that doesn't include letters you faxed. It doesn't include letters you printed out and wrote. It doesn't measure, your phone calls. It doesn't measure your in-person meetings with your MPs. It doesn't measure activities from other groups. MPs know, and Health Canada knows, and yet this is going ahead anyway. So the government is not telling Health Canada they have to back down. And Health Canada isn't backing down. And which means we just have not reached that point where, we can force their hands. So the pressure isn't there yet. We're going to do all we can to get there this year. But, Dana was talking about how, we've grown our social media. If you are not following us on social media, go to our website, find our social media channels, start following us, and start retweeting, and start, just using X as an example. And so start following us, start reposting, start commenting. It's a simple way for you to participate, because then the algorithms see us better, plus you're sharing people on your platform. This is how we're going to make it happen, is just all of us doing this together. And, if anyone's interested, get them to subscribe to our newsletter, get them following us on social media. We're in an information, battle where we need to get more people communicating. And we are going to start targeting bureaucrats more, because clearly they're the ones that are driving this bus, not the politicians. So, so it's very interesting. So I just wanted you to know where we were on cost recovery, that we're watching as a hawk for the new regulations to be published. And, we're going to have an interesting year if Health Canada sticks to the timetable that they have published on their website to bring this in this year. And the other thing I wanted to talk about today, because I have to say I'm just absolutely fascinated about what's happening south of the border. So, with RFK and going through these Senate hearings to see if he can get appointed, and some of the other appointees, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who's a Stanford professor, Trump wants him to lead the National Institutes in Health. And us finding out, with this USAID thing, all this funding into, media that is basically carrying a message supporting specific government narratives, but not having, honest, fair reporting. And the fact that this is becoming exposed and starting to break down creates a somewhat interesting environment, because think for a moment. So let's say the FDA in the United States begins losing credibility because it starts coming to light that, we really do have regulatory capture with that regulatory body and the pharmaceutical industry. Well, what's that going to do for Health Canada's reputation and public trust here? I think it's going to carry over, and I think the changes in the United States are going to carry over. So we have an exciting year. I think this is just going to be a fascinating year on many fronts. I think, we're going to have a challenging couple of years, but come out of it in a really positive way if if we all participate and we get enough people participating. We have a historical opportunity to swing the pendulum back. Remember, I was talking earlier, like, who gave Health Canada the right to decide for us what treatments we can take? This entire drug model needs to be challenged. You know, the Food and Drug Act was it began as a private members bill brought in by the College of Physicians and Surgeons to protect doctors' business. And it's still doing that. We had just recently written for a different MP that is seeing if his party will support the introduction of another private members bill to stop cost recovery. And so the whole purpose is, let's just put in the Food and Drug Act a prohibition from cost recovery being imposed on natural health products. But we also threw in there a clause, and listen carefully. We threw in to this private members bill that we're helping to draft a clause obligating Health Canada to act in the public interest. Now, why would we want to put into a private members bill a clause to go into the Food and Drug Act requiring Health Canada to operate in the public interest? Well, the reason is because they're under no legal obligation to act in the public interest. They're under no legal obligation to try and get good health outcomes. They couldn't be doing what they're doing and, you know, even be pretending that we're here to get good health outcomes. You know, I'll just share with you a story that I was cross-examining a psychiatrist some years back who ran a business to get new psychiatric drugs through the Health Canada drug approval process. And so this psychiatrist is under oath, you know, and he's not enjoying the cross-examination. And we get to the point, he actually, though, starts complaining to me. So he's under oath, and he starts complaining to me at how hard it is to get Health Canada approval on a new antidepressant. But why it's hard will shock you. What he's saying is, you know, I've got to give Health Canada 2 sizable double-blind clinical trials showing a statistical separation between the new drug and the sugar pill. I mean, if there's enough of a statistical separation, and there's literally like a magic formula, oh, here's a statistically significant separation, and then we pretend that means the drug works. And you know, I'm not kidding when I say pretend. We just make the assumption that if we can run a clinical trial that shows this statistical separation for a short period of time, that's our metric to say that the drug works. So he has to give 2 of these. Under oath, he's complaining, well, to get those 2, right out of the gate, I run 8. I run 8 double-blind clinical trials, sizable ones, so that out of those 8, on average, I'll get 2. So he's just learned, this is what he does for a living, he's just learned, so, you know, when a pharmaceutical company comes to him and says, how much do you think this is going to cost? He's billing to run 8 out of the gate. That's a fraud. He doesn't have to give Health Canada the 6 that maybe show the sugar pill works better. And, you know, or Lord knows what it shows, but it doesn't show this magical statistical separation. Or maybe it does, but the safety data or whatever else is too embarrassing and off the charts. The whole system is an absolute fraud. And Health Canada is under no obligation at all to get good health outcomes. And the system's broken, but we have an opportunity to change that in the next couple of years. And we've all been waiting for it. I wasn't sure it would arrive in my lifetime, but we're here. So on that happy note, we'll take questions.
Yeah, so people can start throwing some more in the chat if you'd like, but I already do have one locked and loaded from the chat. So a lot of people are wondering how prorogation or a potential new election is going to affect Bill C-368.
Okay, so the proroguing, or I should say fraud on the Canadian public. Am I hiding my feelings too much here? So that just puts everything off. So here we elect Parliament, and I know they don't get paid enough, and I know they don't have enough perks, and my gosh, what an awful pension plan. So, why have them actually work when you can, grind the entire system to a halt for quite a long period of time to benefit a single party? Like, I can see why our Governor General agreed to that. So again, I'm hiding my feelings so that you don't know. But it means that things like Bill 368 is not going to be going anywhere. But it also means that some really scary bills that are in Parliament, are slowed down too. So when Parliament resumes, everything picks up again. But is there enough time? Because there has to be an election next year. Is there enough time for bills like 368 to get through the Senate if we get through third reading? Probably not. But, the exercise of going through that has committed the Conservatives to pursuing that if they are elected. We're hoping the same will happen with cost recovery. And, and perhaps just getting us out of the drug model altogether, because the whole thing's a train wreck. We really do need the Charter of Health Freedom, or even just agree the government doesn't get to say what we take into our bodies. Like, we'd all agree, protect us against fraud. Like, don't let people lie to us about anything, let alone something we want to take for our health. But instead of protecting us against fraud, and I mean, our laws are written so you can't go out there and lie about a drug, but we actually have full censorship where you can't tell the truth about natural health products. So, here the chemical model, the drugs, the doctors will tell you what to take, and they'll write prescriptions. But in the natural health field, if the health food store person who's trained, or the companies can't share truthful information with you, you'll never hear it. And yet it's illegal for them to do that. It's illegal to share peer-reviewed research. It's illegal to share government-funded peer-reviewed research. I mean, I know one company, it's probably like 40 published peer-reviewed journal articles, all funded by governments around the world. It's illegal for them to share. It's absurd. So we would all agree, protect us against fraud, but don't censor us. I mean, I would like to think, for a natural health product, and it's somewhat an outlandish example, but I can tell you, if I ever got burned, this is the product I would want. There was an Amish healer whose child got horribly burned and is in the burn unit. And the doctors are saying, it's when your kid's is going to die, it's not if. Your child's not going to survive. So this Amish healer is in a fast, asking God for a miracle. And he has a vision, make this treatment. And he does, and he saves his son. Now, I've already told you, if I ever get badly burned, that's the product I want. Well, what if the law was, if anyone wanted to make that product, that they had to tell you that story? That's it. That's all we got, folks. Right? I mean, because if you're badly burned, you're going to the burn unit anyway. But why not? Right? When we had the Strauss Heart Drops or True Hope EM Power Plus, there was no track record. There was no history at the beginning, and yet we know those products saved lives, and they saved a large number of lives. So what about if you just had to tell the truth and disclose everything, the good, bad, and the ugly? Even if, what if, a team of naturopathic doctors, there's some condition that there's really just not an effective product out there, and they're just reasoning, this this group of herbs works well for this and this for this, and so we're trying this product, and here's why. Why is that threatening to the government? We know in the industry, or maybe you don't know, but before we had to go through this licensing process that really has, stifled innovation, what would happen is if there was a condition out there that, like, geez, wait, there's a need, there's not really a product. Well, different manufacturers would try different things. If they didn't work, they disappeared because people wouldn't go and rebuy them. But if they worked, then everyone would copy them, which is why, in health food stores now there's a bunch, for different conditions, very similar products. And we were innovative. Well, what was wrong with that? Just share whether there's a track record or not. Share how you arrived at that. Let's have full transparency. So, and we all agree, like, don't adulterate stuff. Don't throw stuff in there that shouldn't be there. And don't allow anything dangerous in there, and let's use our criminal and civil courts to the full to punish people that do. But, otherwise, do we really need this drug model for, ginger tea or vitamin C or Strauss Heart Drops or True Beam Power Plus? It's a good question, and we have the opportunity now. I really went long on answering that question.
That's nothing new. Okay, so next question. You mentioned Health Canada says that they're not backing down. So some people are feeling a little discouraged that all the postcards and petitions, etc., didn't matter, and that it seems like Health Canada is going rogue. So what inspiring words do you have to say to that?
Okay, so just wait a second. And I didn't answer the question about the election. I'll get back to that. So what's that phrase, you go bankrupt first, very slowly, and then all of a sudden? We don't know when we're going to hit that tipping point. And, could you imagine if, let's say Health Canada brings in cost recovery and imposes these new regulations, because they should happen at the same time. Like, I can't see them bringing in regulations that they say are for this, cost recovery for the stricter regulations, and then they don't bring in the stricter regulations at the same time. But let's say we're in this train wreck. Do you think for a moment that Canadians will tolerate losing their access to these products? Like, to me, what is amazing is that Health Canada and whoever they're getting directions from, because they're not sitting down and doing an analysis, how do we get good health outcomes? Because they're not there for there, and they're not a legal obligation. But, whoever they're taking orders from, whether it's the pharmaceutical, regulatory capture, or whatever's going on, I mean, I don't know. But I know they're not making decisions to protect and get good health outcomes. Whoever's directing them in Health Canada themselves actually think Canadians will put up with that, but we won't, because there'll be too much damage. Like, we'll have people suffering, and that's when the pressure will get high. So it's the lie is that it's possible to take away from Canadians for a long period of time their access to these products. We're not going to put up with it. Like, we're just simply not, and especially not after COVID. Regardless of what you thought about that. Like, people on the whole spectrum of that conversation, a lot of them are upset about how decisions were being imposed on them, whether they supported the actions or not, and really concerned now about the administrative state and government outreach. And we're going to get people asking the question, like, who gave them the right? So I wouldn't be discouraged at all. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, but maybe not. Maybe we'll get there. And that's what we want to do. Like, we want to get there, but we're going to start targeting bureaucrats. But, we have to be careful, right? They're not elected representatives. So, how many letters can you write? Or, like, I don't know, we're trying to figure this out. But we're going to, if they're the ones really calling the shots, then we have no choice but to communicate peacefully what our concerns are and why they should back down. And even, that we need health products. I don't want to say about a new campaign that, we're hopefully launching in the next week or so, but participate. It's important, because it's a different theme that we need to start communicating. And yeah, so let's not lose faith. Back to the election question, because part of the first question was, well, what happens if there's a new election? Do you know what I think the worst outcome is? And this will surprise you: a Conservative majority. Oh, you see, I surprised you. The reason is when you get a majority government, they can ignore you for 3 years. So, and we had it with the Harper government. So we had created the largest citizen rebellion in Canadian history prior to the election of the Harper government with bills, and this Bill C-58 rebellion. And we had gotten into committee a bill called Bill C-420 that was going to move us into the food category like the United States. So get us out of the drug model, move us into the food category. And the Harper Conservatives, before they're elected, but on the election campaign to get elected, it was part of their official election platform to pass Bill C-420. They get a majority government. Did we get it? Oh, no one's saying yes. Oh, no, we didn't get it. We got Bill C-51 instead, this therapeutic product first attempt to move us into these draconian powers we're now trying to get out of. So my experience is that the Department of Health, Health Canada, is so powerful that it doesn't matter what party is in power, they don't deviate from the line. So, we've got to be bigger. But I would like to see a Conservative minority government, is what I would like to see.
Okay, so next question I have here. How do you think that the Make America Healthy Again movement will impact what we are doing here?
I think it's going to have huge impacts. Let's just take, a non-objectionable topic like food we feed kids. What if they start revealing, wait a second, orange popsicles are causing huge health problems. Like, we don't need the orange dye and this and that and all this processed stuff, and it's linked to all these chronic diseases, and it's becoming super apparent. Do you think that's not going to force Canadians who are watching all of this to basically demand the same level of food safety as as in the United States? And I think we're going to lose. I think we're going to lose faith in Health Canada because the Americans are going to lose faith in the FDA, and it'll be deserved. When we're looking at this U.S. aid thing about how the U.S. government's spending money, well, it's coming out that Canada has been too, and just for some shocking things. So the MAHA movement, my understanding is the person that's actually heading that right now, Del Bigtree, is going to be coming to Edmonton on the first week of March and testifying in person at the National Citizens Inquiry. So, yeah, and we're hoping to ask him about MAHA and what's going on and what he thinks the difference will be. So, watch for that.
Yeah, it's really exciting stuff. And I think Canadians seeing all of this happening in the United States makes us want it more here and willing to work even harder to see the same thing here. So I find it very exciting. Last question I have loaded up here. You might find this one fun. Have we considered working with the Save Our Supplements campaign to increase our impact?
So we're already working with them. They're already working with us. And I think they've got a great team and they're doing good work.
Fantastic. So that brings us to the end of all of our questions. I don't know if you had any closing thoughts you wanted to share.
Well, just again, I was worried about that one question, kind of feeling, I guess, almost hopeless, right? And we can't go there. And I think the message right now for people is understand how powerful you are. Like I want to create a team of volunteers, but we have to put the systems in place first. And so if any of you are really good at systems and figuring out how do we coordinate things and put them together, get hold of us at info@ and say, I heard Shawn saying this and I'm willing to volunteer 900 hours a week and and quit my job and do this, or I'm retired or whatever. But I need some very competent people that are willing to put in some serious time at the ground level. But we ask, let me just tell you how I came to this. So I ended up having to write a legal opinion on the Alberta Bill of Rights amendments that the Daniel Smith government brought in, which, you know, are totally a train wreck. And I usually stay out of Alberta stuff, but, you know, I was getting pestered to go and speak about this at an event at the legislative grounds, and I agreed, and I better know what's going on, and I read what's going on, and so now I'm doing a legal opinion, and I'm so annoyed that, you know, I spent, I don't know, 3.5 hours, you know, sending that through email to every single MLA in Alberta. And if they had more than one email address, I sent it to, you know, both their constituency office and their, you know, and I got like just a whack of replies. So here I'm spending 3 hours on this issue because, you know, there are votes coming up and I wanted all these MLAs to have this. And I got a lot of interaction, and I thought that was just like 3.5 hours where I just decided I'm doing this. I stayed up late and did it. I thought, what if, like, I took 2 weeks and all I did, dusted on, was, you know, communicate MLAs and their staff and whatever on that issue. Like and write letters and fax and, you know, email and call. Just keep going through, I don't know if there's 66 of them or whatever, just rotating through every day, different communication efforts. Like I'd get some attention. And that'd just be like 2 weeks of my life on a single issue. And I just realized, well, some people, like, they might not even know how to create pressure, but let's say we got 500 people that, you know, when we pulled the pin on a serious campaign would say, I'm willing to go to the wall where I'm giving you like 2 hours a day for 2 weeks. And we had this system in place to tell you what to do so that you could, you know, maximize your impact. Like, that would be ramping it up, right? And like different ways, like during the, when we were doing the amendment campaign, we had a mail strike. And so we're just telling you to send e-letters, because what else can we do? And phone your MPs and go and visit them. Well, we didn't even think about faxing. It was you that was saying, hey, I faxed this letter, I faxed, and it's like, we forgot about fax machines. How many fax machines do you think Health Canada has? 100? 500? I want to find out. I want to have every fax number for Health Canada. If somebody out there wants to volunteer and spend the 2 weeks or whatever it's going to take, I mean, I don't even know how long to get us all the fax numbers, please do. You know, and how we can, you know, actually know they are fax numbers. But why couldn't we have that as part of the campaign and let you know what programs are out there to send faxes? Because who has a fax machine anymore, right? So, yeah, so what, you know, there's things we can do, and it's a matter of all of us just deciding that we want it, like we're going to take it to the next level, and educating people. Like, if they don't have postcards at your health food store, we'll ask them why. You know, and then, you know, we had some health food stores, the large chain, they didn't like that postcard with the hunter. They thought it was too aggressive. Well, fine, get SOS ones, or we've got different ones now. Like, I mean, but get them to do something and engage with friends and engage with, you know, like most of our health practitioners, like naturopathic doctors, stuff like that, they don't even know what's going on. Even like, so take your part. Like, we can do this. So those are my closing remarks, Dana, and I've actually got to get going. I've got to give a lecture out in Morinville tonight. Got to jump in the car and get going.
You're a busy guy. I think everybody's feeling very inspired after that closing remarks. So thank you, and thank you to everybody for joining tonight.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. We had pretty good attendance tonight. And, you know, next time we do this, have somebody else join with you. Like, let's make these larger. I think they're really, I know we enjoy them on our end, getting the questions and answers and getting some interaction. So we appreciate it, but let's build the audience. Ask, again, like, you got to ask people to participate. You've got to let them know, like, subscribe to our social media channels, subscribe to our newsletter. Let's build this network bigger so that, next year it's not 2 million postcards, it's 8 million postcards. And, MPs are having to rent extra office space if they're keeping them all. Like, they got to know even more clearly, and we've got to let Health Canada peacefully know we're trying to figure out how to best do that.
Important to say in closing that each one of you can participate in our campaigns. Every one of you can take action. Follow us old school, bookmark the site, check often. I'm sure most of you are subscribed to the email, but if you're not, get on the list. All the links will be in chat in a moment. Follow us on social media. Social media is the new form of pressure. That's how we're going to win. It's easy. Repost us, follow us. I'll put the links in chat.
And we're not going to tell you what this upcoming campaign is, and we're not even going to give you a hint.
We might be asking a little bit extra.
Except that you're not sending a letter anywhere. But we need you to participate because it's a different type of messaging. It's going to give us the tools to start presenting a different type of messaging. So participate in the secret campaign that's coming up.
Okay, fantastic. Everybody have a great night, and Shawn, wishing you a great lecture that you're heading to.
Thanks, Dana. And thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.